We've got to understand that each and every day when we wake up, we are students, which means that you're going to get a new lesson. Every day you're given a lesson. And as a student, it is your job to learn the lesson. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to learn it every day. It doesn't mean that you're going to even understand it every day. But until you understand it and until you learn it, you'll keep going through that lesson. But don't be hard on yourself because it's for you. It's for your growth and development. Life is a lesson. Be a humble student. And no matter how hard it is, no matter how bad it may look, the one thing I do is I give thanks. I'm thankful for this moment. I'm thankful for the spirit. And by doing that, that kind of gives me the cushion to be able to move forward through it, no matter what it is.
Hello, F.E.E.L Podcast audience. Welcome back today. So happy to have you here. I'm your host, Melissa Crook. I've got a new friend here with me today that I got to reach out on her behalf through our contact form on our website. It's a great resource that we have. If you're interested in working with us, that's how the reach out kind of came through email, through that channel. And I have a really, really fascinating woman here today with me that is working with women on their health in a really a way that we're starting to hear more about, but I just think it's so important for women to know all the resources that are out there and available to them. And I'm going to get to introduce Njideka here today through her story and her why and her values and how she got to this place and space today where she decided that she only knew how to help herself, but she wanted to help other women as well in this process. She describes herself as an evolving butterfly. I love that visual so much. And Njideka, welcome to the F.E.E.L Podcast.
Thank you, my dear, for having me. Looking forward to sharing the information.
Absolutely. Looking forward to hearing about it. Okay. Talk to me about prioritizing self-care in your life and your journey with that. This can be a real difficult area for women. And we get a lot of scripts and narratives when we're younger about what is selfish, what is not, how we're supposed to show up in the world, and not really realizing or hearing that if you don't fill your cup on a regular basis, you're not going to be good for anyone, especially yourself. So talk to me about your journey with self-care.
Prioritizing for self-help care. That's an excellent question because we don't take a lot of time to focus on healing ourselves.
Yeah.
Because to heal has to come from within. We are our own healers. And so when I think about prioritizing, if I had to really focus on one specific example of how I prioritize myself, it's been through life's lessons. And when I say life lessons, what I've learned now is not to get caught up in what my eyes are seeing, because a lot of times that's not real. And I say that from the standpoint, we're bombarded with so much information 24/7. And the information that's being shared to us or presented to us is not always good.
Yeah.
And because it's not always good, we start internalizing what we're hearing and what we're seeing. And that prevents us from tapping into who we are and what we need. So I would say prioritize first is disconnecting myself from, which I tell everybody, the only way I know about the news is that somebody tells me. I don't look at the news. I don't look at any of that. So I don't even know what's going on. And I do that purposely because I'm not connected to it. And it's not connected to me. So I say, if you're going to do it, be very conscious and be very careful of what you're looking at, what you're hearing, as well as what you're saying.
Yeah, that's very discerning, because when you get this onslaught, I mean, it's the plus and minus in the world that we live in today of everything being available at our fingertips. And then you're just getting this onslaught of information, and all of it's claiming to be the truth. But there's always multiple sides to it. It's
Yes.
very subjective. It's very tainted by a lot of other influences. And so trying to determine what actually, like, I've become very mindful of, I have some identified sources that I look to, that I trust,
Sure.
that I vetted myself, because the onslaught is just too much. It's too, like,
Exactly.
it's too much for my mental health. It's too much for my emotional health. It starts impacting me in ways that aren't healthy for me. And so I love that, like, that mindfulness piece of knowing what is good and discerning and getting rid of the rest, because we don't have to take in everything all the time. And it's not good for us to take in everything all the time.
And I'm going to tell you, I'll share this with your listeners to tell you where I am officially located.
Mm-hmm.
I am in what I have labeled as Stress Capital USA, AKA Washington, D.C.
Ooh!
And so being in this environment has taught me a lot of things as it relates to my self-care, because this is stress capital. I mean, we are fast 24/7 with negativity. And I hate to say that, but that's the energy force. And because that's what it is, and I realize that for my emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual health, I have to put the barriers up in terms of what I'm going to receive. And like you say, for me, it's very important that I have what I call the yin, the yang, the yes, the no, the positive to negative. Everything comes in twos. I need both sides. That way I can decide. I choose what's going to be in my best interest, because I have information that I can compare and say, okay, this makes sense, but this doesn't. I can apply this, but I can't apply that. And that keeps me grounded.
Thank you for that. That's such good insight and so smart, and really goes nicely into confidently setting boundaries. You have placed some very mindful boundaries around this, how you will take it in, and then trusting yourself. We have so many times forgotten or been told not to trust ourselves, especially as women, not to trust our intuition. Trust that intuition, trust that sense. Listen to your body. It's sending you messages all the time of what is connecting with you and what is not. And I think, so talk to me about that. When did you come to this realization that this was necessary for you?
And to add to that, what you so eloquently presented, we've got to understand that each and every day when we wake up, we are students, which means that you're going to get a new lesson. Every day you're given a lesson. And as a student, it is your job to learn the lesson. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to learn it every day. It doesn't mean that you're going to even understand it every day. But until you understand it and until you learn it, you'll keep going through that lesson. But don't be hard on yourself, because it's for you. It's for your growth and development. Life is a lesson. Be a humble student. And no matter how hard it is, no matter how bad it may look, the one thing I do is I give thanks. I'm thankful for this moment. I'm thankful for the spirit. And by doing that, that kind of gives me the cushion to be able to move forward through it, no matter what it is.
Yeah. Such good advice there. Thank you so much for that. So talk to me about you've gone on this very holistic health journey. You very much understand and believe in the body's power to heal. And we've talked about that in different ways on this platform, because I think it's so important to tap into, like, we're capable of so much more than many times we give ourselves credit for, or we're even told in some of these more traditional Western medicine settings. And so parsing out all that information and figuring out what's a Band-Aid versus what's a solution. Like, okay, my body's doing this. Why is this happening? The emotional, mental, physical health piece, which you've already referred to, is a key component in this part of our health, listening to our bodies, processing and moving through our emotions, feeling the things that need to be felt, not stuffing things, realizing when you stuff, that has an impact on your mental health, your physical health, and comes up in a lot of different ways. Yes. Talk to me about your learning about this and how you got to this space of understanding this, which led you down this road that you're on now.
Well, let me kind of put the puzzle together.
Okay.
It's a puzzle piece.
Sure.
One of the things I will share is that by training, I'm a naturopathic healthcare practitioner. And it didn't start out like that originally. Oh, no, let me backtrack. To give you a kind of understanding, I grew up on home remedies. I mean, like, you know, that's my origin.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up as a child, doctors came to your home. They used to do home visits. And so as a child, I'm looking at the doctors. I'm saying, oh, wow, that's what I want to do. Because to me, in my mindset, they were healers. And I said, okay, that's what I want to do. I want to be a healer when I grow up. Now, fast forwarding that, you know, you go through all the dynamics. When I got to school, I got an immediate lesson that what I saw for doctors was not doctors that I wanted to be. So I said, okay, let me change careers. So I wound up becoming a social worker. And as a social worker, I covered the whole gambit of working with people and their social needs, from infants to seniors, every category that you can think of. But the thing that concerned me the most doing that experience was the fact that everybody was going to the emergency room for their doctor. So I'm saying something's wrong with this picture, because now we're looking at there's no resource to find out why you're having the health problem. So then the urge came back up again. Okay, I want to be a doctor. But in that process, what happened was I came into a time where time caught up with me. That's when they were opening up to alternative and natural approaches to healthcare. And so that led me to go into becoming a naturopathic practitioner. Now, to fast forward that in addressing your question, how I got started in what I do. One of the things that really concerned me, I do what I call medication-free approaches to relieving pain. So I focus on pain and I look at the alternatives that's available to relieving pain mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and even financially. So when you look at it from that perspective, we're talking about all of the gambits that relates to health and wellness. So when you think about pain, what happened for me specifically was the fact that when I looked at pain from the standpoint of solutions. We look at pain, but we never look at the solutions. And for me, when I thought about solutions, I said, pain and stress go hand in hand. Yeah. You cannot have pain without stress, and you don't have stress without pain. So I started focusing my practice on looking at pain and stress. Out of that came what I do is called relieving pain first before treatment.
Yeah.
And I say that to say, when you go to your doctor, the reason you go to a doctor is because you're in pain. And so when you go to the doctor for pain, you're looking for what? Relief. Now let's flip that. You're going to the store for something and you know what it is you want to purchase when you go to the store. You go there and you purchase it. Now, when you go to your doctor, you go to the doctor and say, oh, my back is paining me. I'm in excruciating pain with my back. And so what is the doctor going to say to you? Well, we have to do some tests. And until we do the test, I can't tell you what's wrong with you. But here's a prescription for your pain. I don't know what's causing the pain, but here's a prescription. Now, let's backtrack. When somebody comes to me and they tell me they're in pain, and what I do is I'm really big on what I call relieving pain using the power of touch. And this is for your listeners to understand that this is where your power comes in. You inside have the power to heal yourself just by touch. And let me explain what that means. So when somebody comes to me and they're in pain, I'm going to give them what I call the first healing touch. And that first healing touch is listening. Listening is a touch. So as I'm listening, what am I listening for? Because the person who's in pain, they're now going to open up and start talking about everything that's related to that pain. And so what are they getting to do? They're now hearing their cells go through the process that initially started the pain that they didn't connect, which was what I'm listening for, the stress. That's all I'm listening for is the stress. Now, once I hear the stress, now I can go to how we're going to relieve the pain. And what I do, my pain relief is reflexology, which I'll talk about a little later. It's reflexology. And when I use reflexology, that's the pain relief. But what happens from that? Now we move to the treatment because what? I listened. You got it off your chest. Now I gave you the touch, the physical touch with my hands using reflexology. The next step is treatment because there's no one therapy or approach that can do it all. We have 11 systems of the body and each system needs its own specialized form of touch, which means that as I was listening to you, what did I hear? Okay, your back is hurting you. Does that mean you need some massage therapy? Does that mean you need to exercise? Does that mean you need some cleansing? Does that mean we need to do some deep breathing? Is some acupuncture needed? Is some chiropractic kit? It's a combination because what we're talking about, this is your treatment. It's a combination of things that addresses, and I call that the integrative approaches of introducing hands-on therapies that are medication-free in relieving pain. So in terms of how I do what I do, it came from me understanding pain and not separating pain from stress. Because here's the other little tidbit. Although pain comes from stress and stress is connected with pain, there's another piece. Mind, body, spirit connection is the relief for pain, stress connection. So you have to put all of that in place. to make that happen. So that's what the whole concept is really all about.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that connection that you've made and how you explained that. And how, I think we underestimate how many systems are in our body. And we tend to, if you go to a traditional medical practitioner, those systems are treated in isolation. They're not treated as a whole. And it's not until you, and so you miss these opportunities. So instead of treating the whole person with addressing all the systems and all the places that this one thing, you start throwing you go to this specialist and that specialist and this prescription and that, physical therapy, but you're not actually getting to the core of how the systems are all interacting with each other and producing this.
And to add to that, one of the things that we don't truly understand, okay, I use the example of back pain. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's where I'm physically feeling the pain. But we got to understand that whenever you have pain in your body and wherever it is you're feeling, that's nothing but toxicity trying to find a way to come out of the body. But your back can't eliminate it. So what is it doing? It's it's constricting. And now you have inflammation, which is the result of pain, trying to find its way out of the body. So we have to understand. So which means that because I'm only focusing on treating the pain, that's not the cause.
Yeah.
That's not where it started. And you want to focus on where does the pain start from before it even gets to the point that you are feeling it. If it's gotten to the point of where you're feeling it, that's why I listen for the stress factors.
Yeah.
Then I can connect with what we need to do to get to what caused you to be in pain.
Yeah. It's that upstream solution versus that downstream reactionary solution. Let's get upstream and get to the core and the root of it so that we don't get to where we're downstream feeling the impact of that. Because this pain is a clue of something going on in your body that needs to be tended to, release. And so many, because of the fact that we wait until the pain is screaming at us, we miss a lot of cues earlier on in the process.
That's true.
Because we live so, and I know this I'm speaking from my own experience here. Mm-hmm. We live so disassociated and so we don't, we only make room for certain emotions. And this can be based on time, based on narratives we heard about what's good or bad. And I talk all the time about, I do not believe in good or bad emotions. Emotions are clues.
Thank you.
And they are clues, and they are there to let you know something needs to be tended to. And we need to get rid of this moralistic language of good or bad, and just tend to the emotion. And that comes from the hard ones, but it also comes from, it's okay to feel and experience joy. We don't need to suck the joy either. Yes, the world is on fire right now in so many ways. But the joy fills our cups and keeps us going and gives us reasons to remember what's possible in life, and finding ways to connect with that. And also, anger needs to be released and processed. Anger is not the problem. Stress, grief, they're not the problem. They're an outpouring of letting you know something needs to be moved through, process, acknowledged, given attention, not stuffed, not ignored, not put on the back burner.
To add to that, I love everything you said. I agree 100% because that, for your listeners, what was just shared with you, that is a part of your healing tools.
Yeah.
And once you understand that, and here's another little tidbit for you. And you open up, I think you were talking about this. We have compartmentalized ourselves, especially as you become an adult. You get in what I call the box.
Yeah.
And when you're in the box, that means there's only 4 corners that you have to be about moving about. As adults, and I like how you say this, as adults, we start thinking a certain way because, quote and unquote, society says this is how you have to be. Mm-hmm. This is what is expected of you. And we accept that. Yeah. But what we're not understanding is this. I always tell my clients, it's time for you to find some time to let that little girl and little boy inside of you come out and play. Yes, it's all right for you to let that child inside come out and play. And when I say this, I say, you need a silly day. Be silly. No matter what it is. It doesn't matter how people see you, what people think you. This is your day. Be silly. Because that's a part of releasing. And when you can be silly, you be surprised. The immediate healing that can happen for you. Yeah. Just because you stepped out of the box for a minute and had what I call some childhood fun. Because see, that's a problem that's happening when you stop yourself from being creative. When you give up your creative energy, you get in the box.
Yeah.
And you do. That's what happens.
Absolutely. It's funny you bring that up. And I've talked about this some before, but my therapist a few years ago challenged me on, she's like, I want you to do something fun for this weekend for no reason at all. It doesn't have to be because it's good for your serotonin levels. I mean, I was very good at like, we need to express joy because this is good. She's like, just for the sake of it, just have a good belly laugh for no good reason other than, tapping back into that. Like we've lost that ability to tap into our joy, to be playful, to even remember what that looks like. And this is an important component of our health.
And to add to that, and I always talk about this, there's a population that's very dear to my heart. Mm. And I'm going to share this with your listeners because this can kind of help you understand what I mean when I say have a silly day. The most population right now that's going through some serious stress and pain is our young people. Mm. They are stressed to the max. Yeah. You do know how to do certain things to relieve your stress, but young people are not being told or not being shown any outlets that can help them relieve the stress and the pain that they're going through. And one of the major stresses of young people is they are scared to death of touch. That's a generation of people who do not want you to touch them. You know why? Because we don't touch anymore. We've forgotten how to touch. And touch is not just physical. Touch is emotional. Touch is mental. Touch is physical and it's also spiritual. We've got to understand how to connect all of that together and start touching. See, this is a result of COVID.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing COVID did that for some reason, we're not shaking that off.
Yeah.
The fact that we don't touch.
Yeah.
It did that. And now our mindset is so. That's the reason. When I tell you, remember I said I'm in Stress Capital USA. This is a touchless place. People do not touch. And when I say that, I'm talking about that's why you're seeing and feeling and experiencing all of the anger because we're not touching.
Yeah.
That's where the anger comes from.
Yeah.
Not touching.
And the loneliness too, and isolation.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's the corporate of it all. And so now we're in our little cocoons. But guess what? Nobody is an island.
Yeah.
That's the only way we function. That's the only way we survive. And so when I say that, go outside and bring your children and start doing some silly things together with the children in your lives. Let them see you be silly and not serious all the time. That's a healing tool.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. I love so much about that. I love how you really put the full definition on touch. I think that's such an important component here and something we miss. We miss that. And because of the seriousness of the world for the last, I would say especially 10 years, 9-10 years, it has added this hypervigilant state that we're all living at all the time. And we don't allow, out of the fear that's derived from that, which is totally understandable, we miss the opportunities or push back the opportunities to play and tap into that. And I have used this quote a lot the last week because it keeps coming up in conversation. So I love each season. There's always themes. And one of the themes that keeps coming up with guests is the ability to play again, the ability to find your childlike joy again. No matter who I'm talking to across the spectrum, that is coming up more and more. And I think it's because people are feeling that need for that. And the irony of all of this is the more serious the world feels, the more we need to tap into that so we don't lose it, because it is such an important part of how we relate to people, how we connect to people, how we communicate with each other, how we create intimacy. And I'm talking about relational intimacy across the board, that trust. So thank you so much for how you broke that down. So important, so powerful.
The thing that everybody right now, even with your podcast, in terms of the podcast now, are dealing with the messages of a world that's looking for healing.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for some kind of healing. And whatever message that we can share with each other, like what we're doing right now, that touches somebody. And when I say touch, I say the first form of touch begins with 2 words, and they're the most powerful words in the language. And it's called thank you. You do not know how thank you heals.
Yeah.
Just saying thank you to someone can make somebody's day.
Yeah.
And that is powerful. The other thing is, another form of touch is just being able to smile at somebody so that way you can lift their spirits. Smiling is a form of touch. Not only when we do it with the physical, you may pat somebody lightly on the back or on their shoulder. That's an uplifting and a healing touch. You may also just walk up to somebody and say, it's going to be all right. That's a form of touch. That is. So we have it inside of us, and it is our responsibility to be about sharing that, because that's who we are.
Yeah.
That's the work that we were placed here to do.
Yeah.
To be about helping that next person in terms of lifting them up through the power of touch that each of us has inside. And I tell you a little tricky one that is a fun one I like is, think about when you're on the highway and it's bumper to bumper traffic and nobody's letting you in and you trying to get over. And all of a sudden somebody slows down, gives you enough space to get in, and you raise your hand.
The wave in the mirror. Yes.
You don't know. That may have been just the energy that person needed for the day, and you gave it to them. Because nobody has ever acknowledged them throughout the day for anything. And you're doing that made their day. That's a form of healing touch. So if we understand that, we're on the way to turning all of this stress and pain that we are seeing with our eyes and feeling with our spirits. That's how we take back control and turn it around.
Wow. You just laid out showing up for yourself unapologetically and others unapologetically beautifully there. You just addressed that talking point on point. Thank you so much. Those little things, that smile, that thank you, that, oh, what a beautiful dress you have on. Oh, what a beautiful smile you have. That was so kind of you to do that. I noticed that. I'm having a conversation in a couple of weeks with about invisible work. And Dr. Janelle Wells and Dr. Doreen McCauley have done a lot of research on this, and that invisible work that a lot of times women do that goes unnoticed, that's just expected. And the power of, you don't always have to ask, see if, they may want help. Just say thank you. Just acknowledge the fact that they're doing that. I mean, communicate with them. Is this something you really want to be doing, or are we assuming? But my point being, those simple thank yous and acknowledgement, that gentle smile, you just don't know. And I love how you brought that into being part of touch, because I think that's how we get our humanity back.
Thank you.
Yeah. That, my friends, is showing up for yourself and others unapologetically, in a nutshell.
Most definitely. And the thing about it is, and not that we're coming across where we're being hard. What we're trying to do is uplift you to be able to know that you got control of this. And see, I'm a big advocate of people taking back control, whatever is stressing you out, whatever it is inside you, whether you believe it or not. Come to learn how to believe it. You control everything that happens in your life. You control what goes on in your world. Nobody outside does that. You do it. And from me to you, I give you the support 100% to take back control of whatever's going on. You've now been empowered. Go do it.
Yeah. Because when you are able to do that, you start seeing choices instead of feeling stuck. Instead of feeling like, I don't know how to get out of this, you are opened up. You start seeing things, life as choices rather than something you're stuck in.
Exactly. And because that's what life is. It's choices. And it goes back again to what I said. Remember, it's a life lesson. Whatever it is, it's something you have to learn from it. And once you submit to learning from the lesson, that which you are experiencing as stress and pain will go away, because guess what? It serves no purpose. You've mastered it. And once you master it, guess what? You got a new lesson from it.
No kidding. That is how life goes. I mean, it is a journey, and we are continuing to evolve and grow within it. Your work is so clearly aligned with your why and your values. I mean, you talk about going back to childhood and remembering doctors coming in the home and remembering how you wanted to be a healer. You have followed that cue clearly. How do you think it was that you were able to always be so locked in and understanding of your why and your values and how it informs how you show up in the world?
Wow, that's a powerful question. And it's an excellent one to ask. If I have to really reflect. I think the one thing that I will share, this is like a personal side of my life. For the listeners to imagine being 8 years old and your mother coming to you and saying, I'm not going to be here with you always. And I was 8 when my mother said that to me. And my mother was involved in a lot of different things. So I traveled with her, we were just one-on-one. And at 8, hearing that, I, as a child, I didn't understand what that was meaning, and it didn't sound too good, but I said, okay, mother's telling you this.
Yeah.
And then at age 11, that reality did happen. My mother made transition. But one thing that she said to me was, as I was growing up, she always told me, you can be whatever it is you want to be. So just focus on that. So like, I had remembered that. But the thing that she told me in terms of before her making her transition was, I need you to take care of your father. And I have a younger brother. I have 3 brothers. So and my older brothers, like, they are older than I am, but it was my younger brother. Well, we were the closest. Mm-hmm. And so she was saying, you need to take care of your father and your younger brother. So at 11, when that reality hit, my world changed.
Sure.
My world changed. I no longer had a childhood anymore. I didn't have that. I was going through the motions. And I think that was really what kind of gave me the path that I travel now, because all through life, it was always being that supportive caretaker. See, it's not just because I had to be the supportive one. And I learned how to be supportive at age 11 all the way through to my life. So if I have to reflect, I would say that was the starting point to get to me to where I am today. And to fast forward that, when I started my healthcare practices, I built my business off of working with senior citizens. They were the ones who I was working in terms of dealing with their pain and stress problems, but they were the ones who were empowering me to develop who I am today as a practitioner. And so that also, along with my childhood experiences, moving it up to my adult life in terms of practicing, that's how all of that tied in. Wow. And it kind of created what I do and who I am today.
Wow. Thank you so much for all of that and sharing that. I mean, there's so many impactful pieces there. The fact that your mother, that's a tricky conversation to have with an 8-year-old. But your mother had, the wisdom to kind of lay that out for you in the best way that she could. And then you were able to kind of, through time, understand that and then able to take it and see, okay, how do these things apply as I move forward? But also, too, being able to, I want to go back to the importance that you talking about of having fun and being silly. When you are forced to grow up before biologically you should have to, that becomes something very important for you to be able to tap into again. How are you able to do that?
After going through all of those life lessons to get to this point, it's about releasing. And I think a major healing release happened for me. If anybody ever knows about what's called a vision quest, I went on a vision quest. Because the other thing too, I've always been fascinated. I've had the opportunity to study my ancestral connections. And that was a real fascination for me. And I have African ancestry as well as Native American ancestry. So in honor of my Native American ancestry, I was able to go on what was called a vision quest. And a vision quest is when you are placed in what they call a sacred place. It's by yourself and you're connecting with nature. And so going on this vision quest, being that I grew up in an urban environment, I knew nothing about living in the wilderness. That was totally foreign to me. And so to be put on this little place where all you didn't have a tent. All you had was a covering, and you had to be fasting at the time as well, because the only thing that you were surviving off of was water. And that was not foreign to me. I was used to that. So that was easy.
Okay.
But my major concern was dealing with all of nature. And my major fear was snakes. So, I'm going to be out here sharing space with a snake. But anyway.
That's a real fear.
Anyway, on the vision quest, what happens is on your sacred space, you dig a hole. And that's when you start putting in all of the things that you're feeling that's negative, and you releasing all of that. And you get to have a revelation about what's going on, because it's only you and nature and the elements. That's all you have.
Sure.
And so for me, the elements of nature that came to me constantly were butterflies. It was also a woodpecker that came every morning and was pecking on the trees. And those two things in particular played a real role in turning my whole life around. And to kind of fast forward that, there were people from all over the world that were at this vision quest. And these were people who were nature enthusiasts. And we also had the opportunity that we could come down from that mountain space at any time. You didn't have to stay, but you had to stay for 7 days.
Gotcha.
But if you couldn't do it, you could come down.
Sure.
So I guess my competitive nature kicked in. And little did I know, on the 7th day when I came down, I was the only one that stayed the whole 7 days.
Oh.
I didn't even know that. And I'm sitting there saying, oh, wow. But the interpretation of that, that's when I got the revelation that I was supposed to use my hands in terms of the work I do. And me hearing the woodpecker was about dealing with drumming. And I love drumming. That's what that was all about. And the butterfly was about my evolution in terms of evolving. So I'm a part of the butterfly clan.
Yeah.
So like that was a part of how all that came to play. So I think that was my healing moment in terms of me releasing, not having a childhood, releasing feelings that I never really dealt with in terms of my mother making transition, because I couldn't.
Yeah.
That was something I could not do. I had to be rock solid in who I was in terms of the responsibility that was placed upon me. So during that experience and able to release all of that is what led me to turning my life around. And let me tell you, it was not all easy after that either. There was a lot of stuff because then you start dealing with resistance, because as you free yourself, now you get into, no, I don't want to do this. No, that's not where I'm going. But if this is your life path, it's going to kick your behind until you recognize that this is the way you are supposed to go. This is what you are supposed to do. So yes, I was kicking and screaming from that time all the way on to get to this point.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, because that is how life goes. And it's that unrolling and unraveling and your nervous system settling and being present and not running from the stuff that comes up that's hard to deal with. Because I would tell you, based on your story and listening to it, you can be the greatest outdoor enthusiast in the world, but if you're afraid to tap into your emotions and the feelings come up, it's not about surviving in the wilderness anymore. It's about what you're feeling and how you don't want to sit with that. And you were able, and so your ability to do that, I would say, is what sustained you versus the people that might have been more fit for that outdoor experience, but they couldn't tap into the inside experience.
Yes, that sums it up. That was like the whole experience. And I have to thank you. Like, I had never really thought about it until you asked that question. Those were thoughts I have never, ever, I've reflected on it, but to really share that and tell the world, this is my healing story. And all of us, and to your listeners, you have a story as well.
Yeah.
And when I look at my life right now, this is about storytelling time. And whether we like it or not, it's time for us to start telling our stories. And thank you, Melissa, for allowing me this opportunity to tell my story. And for you listeners, start thinking about your story and you start telling it, because that's how we're able to tap into healing a nation by telling our stories, because it touches somebody in some form or fashion. Even like what Melissa did for me just now, it was about asking. That's a power of touch. She asked. She touched by asking. And that was something the universe said, okay, Njideka, tell your story.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And also I want to add, listening to those stories when they're being told, not planning a response, but really sitting and listening, because it's by telling the stories and communicating those, because people are not mind readers and they can make a lot of assumptions about your life and how you show up in the world if you're not telling your story. But also, as you're listening to the story, you get to learn about how to best show up and support that person. What kind of touch do they need? What kind of support do they need? Who else needs to hear their story? And by sharing your story, it's an invitation for others to share their story.
Yes.
And because it's I am such a strong believer in the power of story to build bridges instead of walls. But we have to feel safe enough to share and patient enough and empathetic enough to listen.
That's so true. And what better way to think about, in terms of this podcast that we're doing, in terms of the many lives who are hearing what we're talking about, and it's opening some doors for them.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all about. The work that Melissa does, the work that I do, what we focus on specifically is giving you solutions to the pain and to the stress. That's what we do. We provide solutions. And so listening to what we have to share is giving you, planting and dropping some little seeds for you to know that you can nurture that and get on the other side of being healthy, mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. That's so good. And really, you have laid out throughout this your ability now to live out of your own expectations versus others' expectations for your life. And that's a very freeing place to live from. And I think it's through our stories we can communicate those expectations and share with people, and this is, again, goes back to those touches that you have been talking about. The asking of questions, the curiosity, the opening the door for people to feel invited in and safe in sharing their stories and their expectations for their lives. And so thank you for unfolding all of that for us. I think that's such a powerful piece. And it's really what you do in your work. You invite people to see their choices, to gather their solutions, and then you can live out of your own expectations when you have those resources and you have them in you, but you're made available to you. You're reminded of your ability to tap into those.
And the other thing that's so important, which is I tell my clients also, when you look at who you are, understand you got one of two things in terms of how you can define yourself. Either you are a temple or you are a warehouse. If you are a warehouse, that means you put anything in, you accept anything, you store anything, it becomes clutter and all that. If you are a temple, that means you see things as being sacred. You honor it. And so when you get to the point of, I'm living a life of being sacred and I value who I am, because it's about value. And if you see yourself as a temple, you're going to give value to it. That's something that's valuable. That's something that's special. That's something that is sacred. When you start operating from that perspective, you got your power base back. You're now powerful. And that's how you start. Whenever things start getting confusing and frustrating and overwhelmed, know that you're operating out of warehouse. not temple. Remember that analogy.
Yeah.
When it's overwhelming, the warehouse is stored of too much stuff and I've got to clean it out and I'm going back to my sacred space.
That description of warehouse versus temple really ties in well to what I call embracing all of our layers. When you went on your vision quest, you were able to go on a layers journey where you were able to experience and accept and acknowledge all those pieces and parts of your life and give them room to breathe and give them room to be felt. And then within that, because I start when I'm working with women, whether it's in my online course or speaking or one-on-one, I do it in a different order than I do here on the podcast. We talk about the layers first, because it's exactly what you said. When you see yourself as a temple and you value you, you will prioritize you. You will prioritize your self-care. You will set healthy boundaries. You will pay attention to your mental, emotional, physical health connections. You will communicate your expectations. You'll identify your why and your values as you identify those things that nourish you and fill your cup because you know your value. And so it goes back to that temple piece, that layers piece, whatever it is that you need to do. And Njideka has talked about the vision quest and the power of that habit, that ability to be curious rather than judgmental with yourself. And you have laid out what that layers piece of. I love that warehouse versus temple analogy because it's a very simple metaphor to kind of click. Oh, wait a minute. Warehouse is overflowing. It's time to go look at the calendar and see where the problem lies because there have been too many yeses and not enough nos and no yeses to me. And it's that I think when you do that work, you're setting as a non-negotiable that you won't no longer abandon yourself. And if you start, you've got that warehouse metaphor to remind you, oops, abandoned myself here. I need to get back on track.
Exactly. And make it easy.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's make it easy. Life does not have to be as hard as we have imagined it to be. That's why it's so important to be playful with life. And know that it's all about you. And be the you that is the shining star that radiates energy with everybody you come in contact with. Be the shining star. Nothing's wrong with it.
Yeah. I love that be the shining star because that so beautifully lays out that piece of, I call it out in living out F.E.E.L, finding empowerment, embracing layers, how that unfolds the ability to connect with yourself relationally in a healthy way, as well as other people. When you're able to be that shining star for yourself, when you're able to show up and believe that you are a temple, that you are sacred, it then impacts how you're able to connect with other people because you've learned how to connect healthily with yourself.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. That is so true. And a little tidbit that can kind of help you. As I said earlier, in my practice, I do reflexology. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who may not know what it is, reflexology is the art and science of working specific reflex nerve ending points on your hands, your feet, and your ears. And what that really is, and this is a little tidbit to kind of help you understand the power. One of the most powerful systems of the body is the nervous system. The nervous system are where your nerve endings connect with your brain. And your brain is your command center. And all of the information flows through the nerve endings throughout the body in terms of operation. When you understand that, because when we talk about stress and pain, we're talking about our nervous system. That's really what we're talking about. And what a reflexologist is doing is relieving any stress or blockages that are in the nerve ending so that the message can flow through. Let me share with you what that means. Say, for example, in your house, the electricity goes out. You go and turn on you flip the circuit breaker switch, and all of a sudden electricity comes on. If you go do it and it doesn't come on, that means we got an electrical problem. So you have to call the electrician to come in. And they're going to say, okay, we got a wiring problem. We got to work with the wiring. That's what a reflexologist does. They are the electricians of the body. We work with the nerve ending. We work with the wiring of the nerve endings, opening up those channels of communication. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because when you are feeling pain and stress, understand that each and every one of you listening to me has done reflexology, has received reflexology, and you don't know that you have. And let me share with you how. If you are a parent, or if you go back to your childhood and remember a little thing called this little piggy went to the market and you were doing it on the toes, what you were doing is reflexology. The nerve endings to the head are in the toes and in the fingers. Okay. At that particular time, you were activating that nerve ending in the head, and the message was going to the brain through the nerve endings to the brain to release calming and relaxation to that baby. And the baby feels relaxed. They may start giggling. Some may even go to sleep, but you were calming them. That same technique applies to you. And let me share with you how. Let's use the example of the funny bone. You hit that funny bone, and what's the first thing you're usually going to do? Usually it's going to be a verbal response. It may be nice, and it may be not so nice. Message then goes up the nerve into the brain. Trauma, stress in the elbow. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put your hand on that area and start rubbing it. Message goes up through the nerve into the brain. Release the body's natural pain relievers called endorphins. Rubbing that brings a soothing sensation. And if you are a parent and you with a child, they could be bleeding all over the place, fella, and all you got to do is kiss the area and they feel so much better. That was releasing the body's natural pain relievers. What I was sharing with you is to show that you have the power to relieve pain and stress using your hands. It's very basic. And to give you a little example, if you could see my hand, what happens here in the palm of your hand, you're going to take your thumb, you're going to do what's called, you bend your thumb, we call that a walking. Whenever you start feeling stress, from your wrists to your fingers, all the way to the base of your fingers, just start walking across the palm. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're bringing about relaxation. You're bringing about calm and soothing. You're relieving stress. That's all you have to do. Just get in the habit. Just start walking. And on the back side of your hand, take your 4 fingers. Do the same thing. Just walk. You're walking the back of your hand while your thumb is walking the palm of your hand. Doing that together helps to calm you down. And then take a deep breath. Relief. That's basic things that you can do to start relieving stress so that you can do what Melissa talked about. Start thinking clearly to make decisions that will be healing for that situation that you're going through.
Yeah. And I think that's a really great thing to remember, not to settle yourself, but also if you're in a conflict situation, if you've got a difficult time going on with a person in a relationship, introducing this, that can actually end up being a really bonding thing for you as you're working through this conflict. I'm like, let's take a moment. Let's take a time out and try to settle and do this exercise together. I mean, I thank you so much for that, because it's really, I think you said it earlier, we complicate things so much, but if we can tap into these resources and know how to access our systems to bring about the responses we need, we can alleviate so many issues on our own in a moment's time.
And so you just shared something. I wrote the book, Reflexology Today, A Family Affair. And inside my book, I cover the gambit from infants to seniors. But I also have a section that we call, let's have what we call a reflexology touching family night, where the whole family can sit in a circle, and everybody's working on each other's hands or feet in that own little special way, in terms of connecting. That's the bonding, and that's the relieving. And you'd be surprised how that can be a healing moment for you and your family. And the other thing, inside the book, I show you how you can do basic reflexology techniques. And if you don't want to do it on yourself, teach your young people. They make the best reflexologists you can possibly imagine. When you teach them that skill, now you got somebody that can work on your hands and feet whenever you want it, because that's your pain reliever 24/7.
Wow. And you're also giving that skill to these children to know how to soothe those hard things that come up when they're having a hard emotion, when they need to settle their nervous system. You're giving them that skill, and they can utilize that the rest of their lives.
That's the whole essence of it.
Yeah.
And that's why I say reflexology today, a family affair. Because the one thing you have to understand, when somebody is in pain or stress, or somebody has a health problem, it's not just that one family member. It's the whole family.
Right.
But because we are not touching, we remove it. Okay, well, this is mother's problem, or this is father's problem. No, it's the whole family. And the whole family has to come together to be about the healing. When I wrote the book, I shared this little tidbit with you. When I wrote the book that's out now is the second edition. But when I wrote the first book, and I wrote that back in 1985, and when I wrote that book, I was on my way to China to study reflexology.
Oh, wow.
And when I got to China, the doctors in China spend an hour to an hour and a half with a patient before they even get to the treatment. And the reason they're doing this is because they focus on prevention. They want to know whatever this family member has, what do we do so that the other family members do not get it? And when the other family members now know what they can do, now we got a preventive approach for the other family members. Wow. When I heard that, when I saw that, that was a confirmation for me for my book. Because when I wrote the book because I felt that at least one family member in a household should know some basic reflexology techniques to use in relieving pain and stress. And that's why I say it's a family affair in the healing process.
Yeah. I love how you brought that all together, because whether we want to believe it or not, when we're experiencing any kind of turmoil, pain, irritability, angst, our loved ones, the rest of the people we live with suffer from that. And so that impact of, like, not only are you relieving the suffering for yourself, but also relieving the suffering for those people that it impacted when you were in pain. So it's such a collective solution.
Yeah. And that's how we have to learn how to start operating.
Yeah.
It's about, there's a saying, it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a family to heal a nation.
Oof. Oh, wow. All right. That was good. So good. Thank you so much for that. Okay. I could talk to you forever, but in the interest of time, we are down to our rapid fire. Name 5 activities that nourish you.
5 activities. Well, the first one I would say is being able to walk barefooted in the grass first thing in the morning, to let the energy of nature, because in the Native American experience, the healing foundation are your feet. Yeah. And so when your feet connect with the earth, all of the pores in your feet are open, and the energy of the earth radiates up through your body from your feet to the top of your head. So that will be my first one. The next thing I would say is I like playing chess because that's a way to be about, for me, I see chess as playing the game of life. And so as I'm moving the pieces across the board, that I'm playing the life game. So it would be chess. The next, I love to dance. Now that's where I really get challenged. I love dancing. And so that will be another one. So that's my number 3. Let me see. Then I would say I love the water. I love being able to spend time just being in the environment of water and its healing properties. I think that's real important because it can be quieting and it can be soothing, as well as just being able to sit in it. Because I do like water aerobics. When it comes to exercise, that's my favorite, doing water aerobics. So I like the water. And let me see, for my 5th, I would say being able to be connected with like-minded and spirited people in collaborative conversations like we're having right now. Those would be my 5 healings, my 5 self-help healings for me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this. So good. All right. 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months.
5 words. Okay. Healthy, wealthy, peaceful, humble.
I love those. So good. Share with people where they can find and follow you. And yes, all these resources will be on our website at embracinglayers.com on our resources page, listeners. And I know you're going to want to tap into these things, but share with us right now where people can find and follow you and work with you.
Okay. First of all, my website is where I would suggest everybody go to. It's focusonhealing.com. And what I'm going to extend to you is go to my contact page and connect with me. If you have any questions, any comments, and whatever, if you're going through some pain and stress and you want some relief from me, trust me, I will answer and get back to you. That's where I would start.
Okay.
And the other thing is I too have a podcast where we talk about various medication-free alternative reliefs to podcasts. Go to Touchology Wellness Experience.com. That's my podcast. And Melissa, in the African tradition, you never come to somebody's home without bringing a gift. And I have a gift for you and your listeners that you can go to. I have put together medication addiction-free pain relief poster that you can download. And all you have to do is go to Touchology, reflexology.com and download my gift to you for spending this time with me.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That is so kind. I appreciate that so much. Listeners, all those resources will be, if you're driving down the road, don't feel like you don't have to pull over. Go to our resources page, hit those links so you can access that generous free gift, that beautiful gift, and these resources, and just learn more from what Njideka has to offer. Thank you so much today for your time. This has been such a wonderful conversation. My energy is full just listening to you and being reminded even what's within us and what we can tap into, literally and figuratively tap into within ourselves is so important for ourselves and for each other. And how, it's, so important.
And I want to say thank you to you, Melissa, and thank you to your listeners for giving me this time and giving me this opportunity. And I leave you with this one thought. Mm-hmm. Know that it's the power of touch that heals all, and you got it.
On that note, that's a great way to wrap up this episode. Thanks so much again for being with us today, listeners. This was a rich one. Go back, re-listen, tap into these resources, take good care, and we'll see you next time here on the F.E.E.L Podcast. Hello, and thank you so much for being with us today on this episode of the F.E.E.L Podcast. If you would like more information on how you can apply these talking points that I share with our guests in each episode to your own life, really utilize this F.E.E.L framework, go to embracinglayers.com, fill out our contact form, and let's set up a free 30-minute consultation to talk about how you can start living your most authentic, organic, healthy, F.E.E.L-fueled life. Thanks again for being with us today. We'll be back to you soon with another episode here on the F.E.E.L Podcast.